In a world flooded with trends, noise, and superficial standards, where identity is often shaped by the transient opinions of others, emerges the rarest female on earth, the Sigma female, a woman who stands apart not because she seeks attention, but because she embodies a level of independence, depth, and resilience that few dare to cultivate. And when her path intertwines with the timeless philosophy of Stoicism, she becomes a force so profound, so unwavering, that she no longer merely moves through the world. She reshapes it quietly, gracefully, and powerfully. The Sigma female does not clamor for validation, nor does she seek to fit the molds prescribed by society, for she understands, like the ancient Stoics, that the only true control lies within, that the judgments of the external world are but fleeting echoes compared to the immovable fortress of her inner self. And armed with the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, she forges her path not for approval, not for applause, but because it is in her nature to walk the solitary road of authenticity, guided not by the whims of others, but by an internal compass sharpened through introspection and trial. She understands that solitude is not loneliness, but the purest form of self-connection. And through this understanding, she finds her strength, for in her silence, there is a roaring clarity, and in her solitude, an unshakable foundation. She mirrors the Stoic ideal of being indifferent to pleasure and pain alike, welcoming both triumph and adversity with the same steady gaze, knowing that neither defines her worth. And when the storms of life rage against her, she does not crumble, she does not plea for respite. Instead, she embraces the storm, welcomes it as a sculptor welcomes the chisel, understanding that only through such challenges can the true contours of character be revealed. The Sigma female embodies the art of a more fatty, loving one's fate, not in a resigned or defeated sense, but with a fierce grace, a knowing that every twist of destiny, every unexpected turn is another brushstroke on the masterpiece of her life. And as she navigates betrayal, misunderstanding, isolation, and the countless projections of a world that struggles to categorize her, she does so with a serene defiance, a silent assertion that she will not be moved by anything that does not align with her highest values. She does not seek leadership, yet she leads, not by decree but by example, not by commanding others but by commanding herself. And in doing so, she inspires those around her to rise, to question, to awaken. She does not preach her strength. She embodies it, lives it, breathes it in every quiet decision, every unseen act of courage. Every moment, she chooses integrity over popularity, depth over appearance, essence over image, much like the Stoic philosophers who taught that the only true good is virtue. The Sigma female understands that a life well lived is not measured by possessions or status, but by the cultivation of a soul in harmony with itself, a character that remains upright regardless of the winds that batter it. And she knows that real power lies not in domination, but in self-mastery, in the ability to remain calm amidst chaos, to hold fast to one's principles when a world demands compromise. Her relationships are few, but profound, for she does not fear being alone, and thus does not cling out of need, but chooses her connections out of genuine alignment, valuing quality over quantity, depth over breadth, meaning over momentary validation. And in her presence, there is a palpable stillness, a silent invitation for others to confront themselves, to rise above the trivial and the transient, to touch something eternal within. Like a marble statue standing undisturbed in a bustling marketplace, she is unshaken by the noise, untouched by the fleeting currents of fashion and opinion, rooted deeply in a selfhood that does not beg to be seen, yet cannot help but be noticed. And every step she takes, every choice she makes, is an affirmation of her sovereignty, a living testament to the ancient Stoic ideal that the good life is found not in wealth or fame, but in the steadfast cultivation of virtue. She is wise, discerning when to speak and when to remain silent, understanding that not every battle is worth fighting and not every opinion is worth hearing. She is courageous, daring to walk alone when necessary, daring to hold her ground even when misunderstood. She is just treating others with fairness and dignity, not because it is expected, but because it is right, and she is temperate, restraining her impulses, mastering her desires, channeling her energies toward what truly matters. Hers is a strength that does not shout but resonates, does not boast but radiates. And it is precisely because she seeks no external recognition that her presence carries an undeniable gravitas, an authenticity that shines through in a world desperate for something real. And as the Sigma female lives her life, guided by Stoic wisdom, she becomes not just rare, but revolutionary, not just different, but essential, a reminder to all who encounter her that there is another way to be, a way rooted not in external validation, but in internal truth, a way that does not require constant performance, but embraces quiet authenticity, a way that does not seek to escape hardship, but welcomes it as the fire through which greatness is forged. She teaches, without ever needing to teach, that the rarest treasures are found not in chasing after the world, but in mastering oneself, not in bending to the chaos, but in standing firm amidst it. And in her rare and radiant existence, the Sigma female, intertwined with Stoic philosophy, reveals the possibility of a life lived with unwavering purpose, profound serenity, and unbreakable strength. A life where every challenge is an invitation to deepen, every pain a chance to grow, every solitary moment a doorway in a greater wisdom. And as she walks her path, silent but seen, solitary but never lonely, unshaken but infinitely compassionate, she becomes a living embodiment of the rarest and most beautiful paradox. The one who needs nothing from the world, yet gives it everything it truly needs. The quiet light of resilience, the steady hand of virtue, and the fearless heart of authenticity. And so, as the world spins ever faster, as trends rise and fall like fleeting gusts of wind, as voices grow louder yet somehow emptier, the Sigma female stands unmoved, a silent witness to the chaos, a guardian of something ancient and sacred, a soul unswayed, a spirit unbroken, a mind sharpened by solitude and a heart tempered by wisdom. She does not rage against the storms, nor does she hide from them, for she knows that storms are but nature's way of revealing who is rooted deep and who is merely floating on the surface. And in the midst of these tempests, she remains as a mountain remains against the screaming winds, not because she is immune to fear or doubt, but because she has befriended them, learned their nature, and woven their lessons into the fabric of her being. She knows what so many have forgotten, that life owes us nothing, that suffering is inevitable, but meaning is a choice, and she chooses, every day, to craft meaning from the raw material of existence, to see adversity not as punishment, but as invitation, to treat hardship not as cruelty, but as the forge of her becoming. She is not without wounds, but she wears them not as chains, but as medals, not to boast, but to remind herself and others that beauty and brokenness often dance together, that the finest steel is tempered by the fiercest flames, and that a soul's radiance is often born from its darkest nights. She lives Stoicism not as an intellectual exercise, but as blood and breath, understanding that true strength is quiet, not loud, enduring, not performative, patient, not desperate. While others seek applause, she seeks alignment with her highest values. While others chase after happiness like a mirage, she finds contentment and discipline, in service to something larger than herself, in the steady cultivation of virtue over time. Where the world shouts for attention, she cultivates silence. Where the world craves validation, she cultivates self-respect. Where the world fears being alone, she embraces solitude as the sacred ground where the soul communes with itself and the universe. And in this dance with the eternal, she becomes a living paradox, fiercely independent yet deeply connected, profoundly detached yet tenderly compassionate, unsentimental about life's harshness yet relentlessly committed to love, beauty, and truth. She is the rarest female on earth not because she is perfect, but because she has chosen the harder path, the path of self-mastery, the path of emotional sovereignty, the path of radical responsibility, the path where blame is irrelevant and growth is inevitable. She does not seek to be worshipped, nor does she seek to be understood. for she knows that true understanding is rare and must not be begged for, but allowed to unfold naturally, like a flower opening at its own pace. She does not manipulate. She does not play games. She does not demand. She simply is, fully, unapologetically, fiercely herself, and in doing so she gives others silent permission to do the same, to drop the masks, to lay down the armor, to stop performing and start living. She is not against the world but beyond it, not above humanity, but deeply, humbly aware of its fragility and beauty, its flaws and its infinite potential. And while others may chase after fleeting victories, she invests in timeless inner triumphs, knowing that true success is measured not in accolades, but in the steady, silent building of a soul capable of weathering anything. Her victories are private, her battles often unseen, but her power is unmistakable to those with eyes to see and hearts to feel, for she moves not through domination, but through quiet dominion over herself, and that self-mastery radiates outward, creating ripples that change the very texture of the spaces she inhabits. She leaves behind not noise, but echoes of depth, not trails of chaos, but pathways of calm, not monuments of ego, but living examples of resilience, grace, and authenticity. And though the world may not always recognize her, may not always reward her, she does not falter, for her reward is intrinsic. The steady, serene knowledge that she is living in accordance with her nature, that she is, moment by moment, crafting a life of rare and enduring beauty. And so she walks her path, neither rushed nor stagnant, but moving always with purpose, with poise, with that unteachable grace that only those who have faced themselves in silence can possess. And she carries within her the wisdom of centuries, the courage of warriors, the justice of kings, the temperance of sages, woven seamlessly into the fabric of her everyday existence. And to encounter her is to encounter a mystery, an ancient melody made flesh, a reminder that in a world obsessed with noise, fame, and validation, there still exist those who choose a different way, a deeper way, a way not of shouting into the void, but of becoming the void. Still, vast, immeasurable, yet profoundly present, she is the rarest of. The rare not because she cannot be found, but because few have the patience, the depth, or the courage to recognize her. Fewer still the willingness to walk beside her on the silent, sacred journey inward. And as the world continues its frantic spin, she remains an axis of quiet strength, a lighthouse for those lost in the storm, a living embodiment of the ancient Stoic truth that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And that peace, true peace, is found, not in changing the world, but in mastering the self, and through that mastery, changing the very fabric of existence itself. For the Sigma female intertwined with Stoicism is not merely surviving this world. She is transcending it, not by escaping it, but by meeting it fully, with open eyes, open heart, and an unbreakable spirit, reminding all who dare to see that the rarest kind of power is the power over oneself. And the rarest kind of woman is she who wields that power not for domination, but for quiet, relentless, beautiful transformation.